Y'all, I just missed my flight. This morning at Atlanta's airport, they had the TSA lines, the security lines backed up all the way to baggage claim. The lines were so long that people was almost standing outside. And when I first got here, I was about an hour and a half early to my flight thinking I was gonna make it, and I missed it. I was complaining, I was frustrated, I was upset, and I had to really sit back and ask myself the question, what does that change? And y'all, there was this quote that I read this morning that really checked me, really put me in my place. And the quote read, I'm responsible. Although I may not be able to prevent the worst from happening, I'm responsible for the attitude toward the inevitable misfortunes that darken life. Bad things do happen. How I respond to them define my character and the quality of my life. Thank you, miss. Let's go. Y'all, I want to encourage you today as I carry this message with me as well. In whatever adversity you face, because it's inevitable, watch how you respond when adversity occurs. Be the individual that doesn't focus on the problem, but seeks the solution. Because how you respond to the adversity that you're faced with defines your character and the quality of your life. It's a good day to be great. Let's get it.
I know that's right. You see, that right there, that's not even politics yet. We still in reality territory. The man did everything right. Showed up early, followed the rules, still lost. And that's when people start asking, okay, who's actually in control here? Because when systems fail, somebody has to answer to it. For it, rather. But instead of answers, we got something else.
Nazis don't belong in America, and they don't belong in airports.
And now we are here. This is what we are. You got this woman screaming Nazis and folks just standing there doing a job. No solutions, no direction, just hoopla hoopla. And that's where things get really dangerous, because when everything turns into emotion, logic quietly exits the room. But while all that's happening, something else is being lined up in the background. Not louder, but smarter.
ICE is on their way to an airport near you.
Whoa.
Whoa.
We're going to help the American people transit to the airport quicker and not be held hostage by this foolish shutdown that the Democrats started.
The very party, the radical Democrats that have tried to reform ICE, have inadvertently expanded their role. ICE is everywhere.
The whole reason, as you just laid out, that DHS is not funded right now is because you're trying to push the administration to enact some policy changes on how Border Patrol and ICE act when they're out looking for illegal immigrants.
Nome is out, Mullen is in, Omen is taking care of business. ICE and Border Patrol agents are wearing cameras. There's an active investigation for the 2 lives that were lost in Minnesota. So now, what more do you want?
And now what you're saying is that you're okay with funding TSA.
Of course, they have to try and control the narrative. Elon Musk is going to pay the salaries of TSA agents, and now ICE is stepping in.
Which has been, I think, the biggest point of leverage that you possibly had.
Heavy on the hat, all leverage is gone.
In order to get what you want on ICE, because ICE already has its money. So what was the point of the shutdown if you're okay with funding TSA?
ICE is funded through 2028.
Oh.
Whoa.
We never approach these things that are in front of us with respect to government funding in the context of leverage.
Liar.
And so at this point in time, more than 30 days in to the Trump Republican Department of Homeland Security shutdown.
All I know is y'all been outed and y'all look dumb. Get this damn government open.
Now that changes the conversation, right? Because now it's not just chaos anymore. Now it's, okay, what if we actually replace the gap? Ooh. Excuse me. Wow. So I tried to drink sneak a drink of water before I got back to the, and I regret it. Sorry, y'all. That was probably disgusting. I apologize, but we don't do no edits unless something dramatic happens. Yeah, man. What was I saying? Something about what if we actually replace the gap? You don't want to show up cool. Somebody else will, and that's when the energy shifts, because now the pressure ain't on the system anymore. It's on the people who thought the system would break first. But then somebody comes along and says what everybody else is thinking out loud.
I am highly impressed by the way my president is like the ultimate chess player. President Trump, you know how to play actual chess? Like the actual chess on with the board and everything and the king and the queen? Because the way that you are playing chess with these Democrats is quite impressive. The man basically said if these Democrats don't get their crap together, ICE is going to be doing TSA's job. I wouldn't have thought of that. I would not have thought of that. Genius move. What do you guys think is going to happen? Do you think they're going to comply, or do you think we will be seeing ICE agents at the airports? Let me know. I am highly impressed.
Come on, my body. Come on. Can you function correctly for this? Come on. Now, call it what you want, but when people start calling it, oh my gosh. When people start calling it a chess move, that means they see something deeper. Oh my God. Oh, I'm so sorry, y'all. I don't know what's going on. We're allergic to the BS. Oh. But that means they're not just reacting anymore. They're interrupting y'all, like my allergies. And once people start interrupting, you don't control the narrative the same way. But here's where it stops being a game, because behind all the politics, there's real consequences and real people, which means real outcomes, y'all.
This is just a sad story that has my heart today. Today, we say the name of Sheridan Gorman. I want to tell you guys how this 18-year-old was killed in the city of Chicago by someone who should not have even been here. 18-year-old Sheridan Gorman was a student at Loyola University. A few days ago, she was at Toby Beach Park on the north side with her friends, and a gunman shot a bullet in their direction and killed her. This 18-year-old girl was in the Christian club, lived by her faith, just hanging out with her friends, was a student, doing everything right. And someone who should not have even been here, who is an illegal alien to this country, decided to take her life. Now, this man right here, Jose Medina, is somebody who came over during the Biden era in 2023. He came over on the buses that came to the city of Chicago. A lot of folks called us all type of names because we were against taking and welcoming in migrants, knowing that they cannot work. It just makes no sense to bring in millions of migrants who cannot work in this country, and we're just going to spend billions of dollars taking care of them while they're out in survival mode. Or there are folks that did not have background checks, that did things in their country that we don't know about. Jose Medina, not even a month after being here, was arrested for robbing Macy's downtown. He had a warrant for his arrest at this time that he killed her 3 years later. So please understand that when we are talking about common sense, immigration policies, I believe in legal immigration. I have immigrants who've been here for many years who work for me. But when it comes to people like Jose, who just are able to come over and we take care of them with no background check, and then we allow them to be released after robbing a store, this has consequences. And the city of Chicago needs to be in a position where we amend the sanctuary city policies, and we at least, if anything, work with the federal government on those folks who have active warrants and those folks who are committing crimes in our city. This 18-year-old girl who had her whole life in front of her should not be subjected to people like him who are not even from here, who should not be here, who has an active warrant, just be able to take this girl's life. I'm sick, and this is sickening, and we must do something about our terrible policies.
And this is where everything gets quiet, because now it's not about opinions anymore. It's about what happens when decisions get made and nobody wants to own the results. You heard them. This ain't about hating anybody. This is about responsibility. And once you frame it like that, people start looking at it differently. Everything differently. Even things they weren't paying attention to before.
What is it that you're doing to make sure that those same people who have registered to vote don't show up on election day in November or on a primary election day earlier in the year to cast votes in connection with federal elections? In a handful of those states, I believe it's 3 or 4 states and the District of Columbia, at a minimum, have legalized non-citizen voting within their states within some local elections. Now, why they would want to do this, I do not understand. I fail to comprehend why that is a good idea. It seems like a terrible idea. But no federal statute prohibits it. Nothing in the U.S. Constitution prohibits it, insofar as we're talking about a state or a local office and a state or a local election for a state or local office. So assuming state law allows it and their state constitution doesn't prohibit it, states are allowed to do this. But once they do it, it creates a problem. And it creates a strong inference, a strong presumption of an ongoing, much bigger problem. Because if you are one of those states that allows voters to register to vote and then cast votes in some local elections, that means they have a voter registration file. Questions have been asked by federal authorities of the state elections officials in those states. What is it that you're doing to make sure that those same people who have registered to vote don't show up on election day in November or on a primary election day earlier in the year to cast votes in connection with federal elections? They've been asked that question and they refuse to answer. Now, just think about that for a moment. That's pretty chilling. No matter how many non-citizen voter registration files might be found in those states, one can imagine a scenario in which it could and would make the difference. We can all think of elections, including federal elections that many of us are familiar with, that have been decided sometimes on the basis of a few thousand votes, or a few hundred votes, or even a few dozen votes. It does happen.
Now, zoom out, because what he's saying is this ain't just one situation. It's a pattern. And when people start hearing pattern, they start connecting dots. Once those dots connect, you don't need to convince them anymore. They start convincing themselves. But here's the part that really flips it. What actually happens? What happens when you actually test it?
But just as we have in D.C., here in Memphis, we've achieved one of the largest, fastest declines in violent crime ever recorded. So that's something, right? Ever recorded. In fact, you're half a percentage point away from the record, so we'll catch them in the next month or two, all right? I think that's going to happen. But that includes a 60% drop in robberies, a 74% drop in carjacking, and motor vehicle thefts. We have always achieved numbers that are good. These numbers are right on line to be among the best that we've done. And wherever we do this, we have very similar results. We were in New Orleans, where the governor called us, as you know, and we went to New Orleans. They just had Mardi Gras. They said it's the first, it sounds terrible, but it's the first Mardi Gras we've ever had where there was no murder. Can you imagine? Doesn't sound too good, but, you know, we're talking about the facts. And they said we had the lowest crime that we've ever had on Mardi Gras, which is almost nothing. We went there about 4 months ago. We did a great job. So we've achieved a 70% reduction in murders from the peak in this place. In total, we've arrested 7,000 criminals, seized more than 1,100 illegal guns, taken more than 1,000 pounds of illicit narcotics, and rescued more than 150 missing children, making their parents beyond happy.
See? Numbers don't argue, but people do. And when results show up, it forces a different type of conversation, because now it's not about what might happen. It's about what already did. And once results into the room, man, a lot of noise suddenly gets real quiet. But not everybody gets quiet. Some people, unfortunately, get louder.
No, I don't want him impeached. I want him Mussolini'd. Yes, Mussolini him. And I want those 6 so-called justices to be Mussolini'd as well. Especially that one that complained about his technical lynching, whatever he called it way back then. But he's not. None of these people are good people. Color has nothing to do with their immorality. And you can stand up to them. Stand up, don't go. Don't go. I love the way the Europeans is telling you, fuck you, motherfucker. You know.
Some context. Get this together.
No.
You're not supposed to hear things like this said out loud, but here we are. Leftist launches into a disturbing rant about President Trump and Supreme Court justices. No filter, no hesitation. And people wonder why others are walking away. And that right there, that's the part people don't want to talk about, because when things get that extreme, it stops being about disagreement and starts being about exposure. Exposure of how far things have gone and how far people are willing to go. And once people see that, they don't unsee it. At the beginning, this looked like airport delays, missed flights, long lines, and just frustration. But by the end of it, you start realizing this was never just about airports. It was about control, responsibility, and what happens when pressure gets applied. Because pressure doesn't create chaos. It reveals what was already unstable. And when something steps in to stabilize it, that's when people start choosing sides. Not based on what they were told, but based on what they were seeing. Like I've past week. And once people start trusting what they see, that's when everything changes. I've been saying that. So we're going to go back to a word we've used before. If you made it to the end of this video, just write the word control. Y'all be safe. Go check on somebody today. I got to go pick up my babies. Peace.